Many years ago, the Silk Road city of Tashkent played host to visitors from China, and many of them with names associated with the old Imperial Guard. But this is the modern day, this is 2021, but the Imperial Guards are back in the form of Beijing FC. They take on Kawasaki Frontale in Group I, and it's going to be a massive game for a young and inexperienced Beijing Goan team. Quite simply, this is a squad out of necessity that has come to the Lokomotiv Stadium in Uzbekistan. It's only 4 first-team players and 20 youth team players that will be facing Kawasaki Frontale today. It's not a huge choice that Zoran Jankovic, standing in for Slaven Bilic, has had to make. But what they have shown is some degree of heart. They had a tough opening fixture against United City of Philippines, who dominated the game. Beijing Goan only had 26% of possession, and yet they managed to get a draw with just 20 minutes left in the contest. This is going to be different. This is going to be difficult. They take on a team that simply doesn't lose matches. Kawasaki Frontale are currently top of the Japanese First Division. They've won 17 matches, drawn 4, and scored 51 goals. How many more might they get today? It was a thriller for Frontale in their first game in Group I. They beat Daegu 3-2, coming back from 1-0 down and then 2-1 down. A crucial penalty save from Jung Sung-ryong when they were a goal down may just have made all the difference. And as a result of that, should Kawasaki Frontale do as expected and win this match, they will find themselves virtually assured of a place in the knockout stages of the competition. The high numbers on the shorts of the Beijing Goan team illustrates that this is a group of players with squad numbers assigned from late on. These were not the first names on the team sheet, but they are now, and they have a chance. It may be a very small chance, it may be a minuscule chance, but a chance nonetheless. Get a result today against Kawasaki Frontale, put them under pressure, and boy, will they make a name for themselves. These young athletes could well pressurise Slaven Bilic into dropping them into the first team when they are reunited with their senior teammates. If nothing else, it's going to be one of life's rich learning experiences to face the team which has dominated domestic football in Japan for some years now. It's a first team and a substitutes bench full of experience, as you'd expect with Kawasaki Frontale. A core group of players that have been with this club for such a long period of time. They have become the toughest team to beat in Japan. Trepidation perhaps in the minds, the hearts of the young Beijing Goan players as they get ready to face a team that they will know are overwhelmingly the favourites. But sometimes when there's nothing at stake, sometimes when the pressure's off, sometimes miraculous things happen. Sometimes they don't and everything goes according to plan. Which one will this be? I'll leave you to make up your minds as we get ready to begin this contest between Beijing Goan and Kawasaki Frontale. There is no guarantee that if you finish second in the group, you will pass through into the knockout stages of the competition. More teams means more competition, means fewer places as the competition goes on. Beijing Guoan represent one of the world's most iconic cities. Their nickname is the Imperial Guards, and back in China's great history in the 16, 17 and 1800s, the Imperial Guards were responsible for protecting the Forbidden City. Some of them had to march ahead of the Emperor when he left the palace. There may well be little opportunity for vanguard action today for Beijing Guoan as they take on Kawasaki Frontale. It's a young squad for Beijing Guoan, desperate to make a name for themselves. The veteran in the team is goalkeeper Guo Qianbo, who at 23 can look at the rest of the team and say, in my day, with a wistful stare. Number 36, Liang Xiaowen, scored the crucial equalising goal against United City with a beautiful free kick to become the club's youngest ever Champions League goal scorer. Only 4 of these players are normally with the first team squad. Referee Massoud Toufalier from Syria. There are goals everywhere in this Kawasaki Frontale team, which could be bad news for Beijing Guoan. It's a squad that has at the core a group of players who've grown up at the club, like defender Shogo Taniguchi, the captain, and number 11 Yu Kobayashi, their top scorer for the past 4 seasons. And there are newcomers like exciting university graduate Ryo Hatate, who's starting to really make a name for himself. On the substitutes bench for Beijing, a large number again of very young players, including Ma Yu-jun, who became the youngest Beijing Guoan player to ever feature in an AFC Champions League game at 18 years and 131 days. Stare across at the other bench and you see players who know this competition very well. There is one caveat though. Kawasaki Frontale arguably are underachievers in the AFC Champions League, considering their domestic form. They have never gone beyond the quarter-final of this competition. They're well positioned to make the knockout stages now. And Shogo Taniguchi, who we just saw there a moment ago, has really seen it all. He's been there for the remarkable rise of the Frontale team. The contest begins here in Group I at the Locomotive Stadium in the 2021 AFC Champions League. It is Beijing Guoan in their traditional home kit of green and yellow. They attack the goal to your right with a lot of players that you probably never had the chance to see before. But you will definitely see some of them again. These are the players who are making their way through into first team contention, and they can accelerate that process with a strong performance today. The man looking after them is the reserve team boss Zoran Jankovic, deputising for Slaven Bilic. And as you can imagine, this is all due with COVID protocols and keeping the squad separate. Here is Tatsuya Hasegawa for Frontale. Xu Dongdong managing to get the ball out to Hu Jiaqi. Toru Oniki has only had one job in management, But he hasn't done too badly, has he? What a remarkable rise he's overseen of Kawasaki Frontale, the team that he spent 6 years playing for. And the majority of the time, the 47-year-old was playing in the second tier, back where Kawasaki Frontale used to call home. Not anymore. Strong jump from Taniguchi, but not able to use it. Xu Dongdong with the restart. It's with 39, Xie Longfei. Hu Jiaqi. He's done well. He's done really well, actually. Xu Yucheng, a little bit overpowered, but unfairly by Yasuto Wakizawa. Well, one has to commend the start of the game from Beijing. They have not played with timidity. Easy to say with just a few minutes on the clock, but it's a positive beginning. 19 is a Tono for Frontale. Now it's with the captain Shogo Taniguchi once more. And here's the dangerous Yu Kobayashi, pulls it back, and the goalkeeper has to make a save. Guo Qianbo denying Tono. He is the most experienced member of the team. Done well to keep that in play. Xu Dongdong. Now Hu Jiaqi. This is the number 38, Ran Qilong. Yet to make his Chinese Super League debut, just like the vast majority of this team, as Nabi puts the ball out of play. And look at Jiang Wenhao, the 21-year-old from Jiangxi province. One of the really fascinating things about so many of these young Beijing Goan players is that they're from disparate parts of the People's Republic of China. You just have to imagine what it's like as a player, 14, 15, you're in a youth team and you're 1,000, 1,500 kilometers away from home. Yes, you're in the same country, but you might as well be a world away from family, from home, from loved ones. These are a stern group of players, a tough group of players, and they will be tested today. This was the chance. Yu Kobayashi with the pull back to Tono. No issues with the corner kick. And chose to let it go, and just for a moment there it looked as though Tatsuya Hasegawa might get onto the end of it, but the flag was already up against the 27-year-old from Shizuoka Prefecture, graduate of the impressive Jundai, one of the top universities in Japan. There, Ryo Hatate, wearing number 47, who's played in Tono. Tono's cross, and it's going to be finished. That's a very nice goal indeed. Tatsuya Hasegawa. It's the fourth time that he's scored in the AFC Champions League. and the first for over 3 years. And early on it is Beijing 0, Kawasaki Frontale 1. And just like that, the resistance broken. Tono with a good ball, and it was well met by Tatsuya Hasegawa. Didn't put too much power on it, just gently steered it beyond Guo Qianbo. But what a nice ball from Tono, the youngster making his Champions League debut. Possible opportunity here for, well, it's just put wide by Doan Duju. Well, that would have caught Kawasaki Frontale cold. Made his debut for Beijing Goan in the game against United City. Oh, that's an agonising one to look back on, because you know what? He might well and probably should have found the target. A little warning administered to Toru Oniki's team that there is pace in these young players from the capital city of the People's Republic of China. But there's also a great chance here for Yu Kobayashi. It's very well stopped by Guo Qianbo. Kobayashi again beautifully cleared, but it must be put in now, and it is put in now. Kento Tachibanada has not really touched the ball much in the opening few minutes. Well, he's had an impact there, and he scores on his Champions League debut. Beijing Goan 0, Kawasaki Frontale 2. Kobayashi denied by Guo Qianbo. It was a decent save and a good attempt to clear, but nothing really going right for Beijing Goan. You have to feel for Nabi, because not only did he not manage to clear it, he then steered it into the back of the net. Goalkeeper might have touched it, might have stopped it, but he was hardly to know. And it's a goal for Kento Tachibanada. Recent university graduate, one of the impressive new crop of Frontale players. And on the score sheet now as a professional. Kurumaya wearing number 7. 29-year-old. Useful left-footed player. Here is the score of the opening goal. There he was, Hasegawa, now Hatate. If you're just joining the action here at the Lokomotiv Stadium in Tashkent, Zoran Jankovic's Beijing Goan have had a tough beginning to the game after a promising first few minutes. They find themselves trailing Kawasaki Frontale by 2-0. But just for context, you are looking essentially at the youth team here of Beijing Goan due to the various complications of COVID protocols. This is a group of players that is here in the East region hub, not connected to the first team. It would be tough to judge them a great deal. There are a lot of very good teams that find themselves 2 goals down to Kawasaki Frontale in the first 10 minutes of a game. Players with much more experience. Here is Hasegawa once more. Shogo Taniguchi well forward. Should be cut out, and is. It's a nice idea to play in Doan Duju, who has shown himself to be pacey, if not fully accurate in front of goal. He had a wonderful chance to make it one apiece. Wakizawa. Once again, Yasuto Wakizawa. Hasegawa just about stopped by Guo Champo, and then needed a little help from his defence, with the danger of that being pulled right back across the face of goal by Hatate. Such a quick twister and turner is Hasegawa. Anxious moment for Guo Champo, who is going to be, shall we say, on the busy side. Wakizawa plays his way out of any difficulty with ease. Yamane. Now it is Reo Hatate who moves it on to Hasegawa, who just looks a step ahead of everybody else so far. Doan Duju. It's a nice idea. And again, here's the advantage of the team. Plenty of pace. It's Li Boshi, saved by Jung Sung-ryong. But that is definitely their best chance, is a counter-attack with some of the pace they have. On the subject of pace, here's Hasegawa. Trying to control it is Tono. Just goes beyond Tachibanada. And it's relentless at the moment. Hasegawa again, though he's offside. They've only conceded 15 goals in the league this season, Frontale, so the chances that have been created so far and almost finished by Doan Duju and Li Boshi, evidence of the promise that lies within this youth team of Beijing Guan. And Shilong with the restart. And it's easily recovered by Wakizawa, nearly flicked on by Yu Kobayashi. The 36-year-old Jung Sung-ryong, what an important part he had to play in the win against Daegu. Saving the penalty kick when they were 1-0 down. Had enough of that one. Let's try again. Wakizawa. Played on to Tachibanada. Doesn't quite manage to keep it in. Actually, he does, and wins the corner kick, but he'd run out of ground. Useful finish from the 23-year-old for the second goal. Captain Shogo Taniguchi just lurking around the edge of the area as this corner kick is delivered. It's going to go back. Well, that's flicked in, but will not count. It was Kazuya Yamamura that was the intended target. It could well be that goal difference is significant in this group, especially with Daegu FC's resounding win over United City, 7-0. Those will be the next opponents for Kawasaki Frontale. It will be Beijing Gohan who face the team from Korea Republic. Just to restate, the top side guaranteed safe passage to the knockout stages, but that's all. What do you say to a group of players if you're Zoran Jankovic, when you know you've got opponents like this coming up? One of the top sides on the continent. How do you ready them for a challenge that will be beyond any challenge they've faced as young youth team players? What would you say? Brought down was Xie Longfei from Songji. Small by comparison in the People's Republic of China, a small city of 800,000, about 1,300 kilometers south of Beijing. He is one of the more experienced players in the team, in the sense that he's been on the bench 3 times in the Chinese Super League without actually ever getting onto the pitch. Plenty of opportunity here for Kawasaki Frontale. There's a lot of space in the midfield. So far, the team from Japan has had about 2/3 of the ball, and that's going to run the risk of slightly tiring these young players as the game goes on. They're going to spend a lot of time chasing. Might start to fall a step or two behind the plate. Wakizawa. Nearly recovered by Miki Yamane, but here is Xie Longfei. Now it's been stolen back by Kurumaya, who fancies a go. And will settle for the corner kick. Yet to score in the Champions League in 18 games he's played so far. Shintaro Kurumaya. Has only ever scored 3 goals, so you can understand him wanting to have a blast from near the edge of the area. Xu Dongdong trying to look after Hasegawa. Hatate. Yamane. Miki Yamane. Signed from Shonan Belmare at the start of the 2020 season. Has scored a couple of goals in J1 this year. And I think for so many people, the most memorable Miki Yamane contribution in Japanese football will be that last-minute winning goal against the Urawa Red Diamonds in the big derby game in the 2019 season. An incredibly memorable game, not least because Shonan Bellmare at 2-0 down scored a goal that went into the back of the net, bounced out again, and nobody noticed. Well, everybody except for the referee noticed. So he does like a dramatic contribution, does Miki Yamane. Hasegawa, what a nice ball. He did well to deal with that at the back. Beijing Goan. And eventually it's just stabbed away by Shu Yuchun, but the pressure is building and building. Captain Liang Xiaowen half clears it, but everything is half cleared at the moment. Tachibanada looks for Hasegawa, just flicked away barely. Tidy turn from Xie Longfei. Well, one feared for Beijing Goan when the second goal went in so quickly after the first, just a minute or so between them, but they're looking much better now. Maybe Kawasaki Frontale just happy to coast through this game, not expend too much energy and take the chances when they come along. Taniguchi. Yamane to Tachibanada. Recovering possession with such ease, the Japanese side. It's got to be a foul, hasn't it, on Tatsuya Hasegawa by Xu Dongdong, who gets a yellow card. We did have a couple of players booked in the first game, Beijing Goan. Little to argue about with Masoud Tofalier, one would suggest. So it will be Yasto Wakizawa to send the ball curling towards Guo Qianbo. Dangerous and a good opportunity that's dealt with well. It was Ran Chi Long who nodded away Wakizawa's delivery. Given away by Ran. Kizawa tried to play it towards Yu Kobayashi. Hasn't had really any opportunities after the shot that was saved by Guo Qianbo, leading to Tachibanada's finish. But what a player the 33-year-old has been for Frontale, and continues to be for Frontale, because he's been their top goal scorer for the last 4 seasons, was their joint top scorer the year before that. Out it goes to Hasegawa. Wants to cut inside, likes to do that now, plays in Hatate. That would have been something rather nice. He's an interesting young player, 23-year-old. He went to the prestigious Shizuoka Gakuen High School, a big school for football in the part of Japan that's really known for being the birthplace of association football. Oh, it's a great little touch back. It's Wakizawa. Now Hasegawa, and deflected behind. Comes off Hujachi, but Yu Kobayashi got all of that moving with a very nice touch to free Wakizawa. Easy to see why Wakizawa doesn't complete that many games. He does put an awful lot of running in the first part of the contest. Here is Wakizawa's corner kick. Again, it's well defended. Jiang Wenhao on this occasion. Furthest back, Miki Yamane, now joined by Kazuya Yamamura, playing in his 10th AFC Champions League game. Hasegawa to Wakizawa. Hatate. Has a confidence with the ball at his feet. Cleverness too. Would expect that from somebody who went to Jundai. Won a couple of World University Games titles. Thought that Taniguchi was going to shoot, instead opts to keep the play going. And good effort from Shu Yuchung to win possession. He's done so. Yeah, I don't think there can really be too much complaint about that challenge on Jiang Wenhao. Bundled over by Yu Kobayashi, who has hurt himself actually. He just seemed to go knee first. And he's won both J1 and J2, along with the J-League Cup, the Emperor's Cup and the Super Cup. A very rare player. One wonders if he feels tempted at some point just to finish off his career with a year in J3 so he can get the full set. Assuming that he never decides he wants to leave Kawasaki Frontale. Real legend of the club. But in continued trouble, and that's really not very good news at all for Toru Oniki, for Kawasaki Frontale, and most of all for Yu Kobayashi. And it was the challenge on Zhang Wenhao by Kobayashi that seemed to cause him discomfort. He's played almost 400 games for the club, scored over 150 goals. Just keep an eye on him as he goes to ground. Immediately clutches the left knee straight away. So a worryingly instant reaction. And I think perhaps more concerning is he kept very still after going down. Experienced enough to know that something was up. Absolutely no need to risk his condition at all, especially as they're in a comfortable position. So CHN about to come on. And a most uncomfortable sight to see Yu Kobayashi playing no further part in the game. So coming on after just beyond the half-an-hour mark is 26-year-old CHN. Another player who's been with Frontale since graduating from university, with the caveat that he spent last season on loan to Oita Trinita. First time we've seen number 20 in the Champions League this season. Yang Xiaowen in possession, who scored a delightful free kick in the 73rd minute of the game against United City of Philippines. A team that looked to be the first team from the Philippines to get a victory in the AFC Champions League. Well, they became the first to get a point, but they were clearly disappointed at the conclusion, feeling that they should have managed to get a second goal and make it impossible for Beijing to mount a comeback with just a single shot on target in the end. That free kick from Liang. Became in the process the youngest ever goal scorer for Beijing in an AFC Champions League game. Just a couple of weeks beyond his 19th birthday. Reo Hatate. Hasegawa. Wakizawa. Just about controlling the ball whilst falling was Tachi Banada. He did well because he never seemed to be upright and yet just kept going. Chinen. Chance to relieve some pressure. Just overhit in the direction of Xie Longfei, and now with plenty of space here is Tatsuya Hasegawa. Useful two-footed footballer. Miki Yamane on the other flank. Shogo Taniguchi. What a leader figure he's been for the club. Segawa, Hatate, Beijing, Goan just cannot hold on to the ball. They can barely get near it. Tono should be the goalkeepers, and it's with relief, one suspects, with Guo Qianbo. Player who, in making his second appearance in the AFC Champions League, is positively a veteran. There's a very telling statistic in that the number of passes that both teams have put together. Here's a chance for Li Boshi. It's well played from Hatate, having to do a rare bit of defending. Again, Li Boshi. And a rare opportunity this for Beijing Goan. First corner kick for the Chinese team. And it is cleared with ease, really, by Wakizaka. Tracking back, Ran Qilong. But really pressurised into something of a hit and hope. It's been a feature of the way Kawasaki Frontale have played for so long. They are intense in the way they pressurise to regain possession. Various options, and one of them is CHN, and it comes back off the bar, but the whistle has already gone. Just the one goal in J1 so far this season in his 11 appearances, and certainly did jump with pressure very clearly on the back of Ran Qilong, player from Ningde on the east coast of China, a history that goes back almost 20,000 years based on the pottery that has been found in the area. It's always been a key agricultural site due to its climate. 6 million bamboo products made every year from the bamboo groves of Ningde. Space, unexpectedly, a chance, and surely another goal. It is, it's beautifully finished. And having done an awful lot creatively, it's Tono who finds the target himself. It is Beijing Goan 0, Kawasaki Frontale 3. A first ever AFC Champions League goal for Tono. Provided a lovely cross right at the start of the game for Tatsuya Hasegawa. And now he takes the initiative one-on-one with Guo Qianbo. Never looked as though missing was an option, did it? Despite the efforts by Nabi to get back. player who has really worked his way up through the leagues, Tono. Played for Honda FC from 2017 through to 2019, the team known as the J's gatekeeper, because they cannot be promoted to the J League, because they are a team that will not relinquish their corporate origins and their corporate affiliation. So they are the team you need to beat if you want to actually get into those top 4 places, and he was a very key part of their team for a few years. Here is Tachibanada. It was quite close to CHN in the end. It's a good opportunity for him, this. Getting plenty of time. Obviously in unpreferable circumstances due to the injury to Kobayashi. Look at Doan Dejeu. Played the first 76 minutes of the game against United City for his debut for Beijing. Here is Kazuya Yamamura. Just goes behind Chinen. Tachibanada couldn't get there. Here is Hatate. Taniguchi. Using width effectively at the moment. Kawasaki, Frontale, Wakizawa. Now eventually to Tono. Yamane not able to get the ball in, but it will be a corner kick. Yasuto Wakizawa, who set up Tono. Well, this time, can they find Taniguchi or Yamamura? No, they find Liang, who heads clear well. Hatate. Lovely accuracy. Taniguchi. Hatate again. Kurumaya. Yamane to Tono. Through the legs of the referee to Taniguchi. They're just keeping the ball glued to their feet here. It's very patient. Hatate, a turn from Chinen. No joy, but a very nice move, a very patient move from Kawasaki Frontale. And to the relief, one suspects, of Beijing, just a single minute of time added on. By Tono. Really did take his chance well. He's had a very impressive first half, as has Reo Hatate. Nearly scored a quite spectacular goal. Asagawa got everything moving with just 7 minutes on the clock. Out of nowhere, a chance pulled back towards CHN, but Beijing survive for the moment. Is there one last opportunity? There will be, because that is a foul. Tono brought down. Yes, a clear pull by Shu Yuchung. No time though for the free kick. Signs of promise from Beijing, but just signs, glimpses if you will, They have had chances, and one wonders, just wonders, if Doan Doja and Li Bo-shi had managed to find the target, had managed to beat Chung Sun-ryong, then maybe this would be a very different game indeed. That's all supposition. Daya Tono has played a key part in making sure that it is a comfortable advantage to the wildly more experienced team at the interval here at the Locomotive Stadium in Tashkent. Toru Oniki will be feeling fairly calm and thinking about players on the bench that he can give opportunities to as this contest moves into the second half. For Beijing Goan, it remains a case of nothing to lose. What can they do to challenge Kawasaki Frontale in the second half? At half-time then, Beijing Goan 0, Kawasaki Frontale 3. Once again, welcome to the Lokomotiv Stadium in Tashkent, Uzbekistan for this second match day in Group I of the AFC Champions League. And thus far, it is rather a gentle stroll for Kawasaki Frontale, who look as though they're going to be making some changes, including bringing on Koki Tsukagawa. They've worked hard, the young players of Beijing Goan. They have had significant challenge. They've kept their heads up as best as possible. They nearly even got a couple of goals. But everything rather comfortable for Kawasaki Frontale. It will indeed be Koki Tsukagawa to come on. Meanwhile, coming on is Ma Yu-jun and Chun Yampu. By the looks of things, Jiang Wenhao and Ran Chi Long coming off. So we have on the pitch the player who was the youngest ever for Beijing Goan to play in an AFC Champions League game. And Shogo Taniguchi, the player off for Frontale. The second half begins at the Lokomotiv Stadium in Tashkent. And in possession, Kawasaki Frontale. And that's a statement we can use to describe the entirety of the first half. Well, they controlled the ball for about 2/3 of the game. And they controlled the scoreboard with 3 goals. Scored by Tatsuya Hasegawa, Kento Tachibanada and Daya Tono. It is Kawasaki who are expected to not settle for 3. Out to Miki Yamane. Great pleasure to have your company wherever in the world you are watching this AFC Champions League fixture. From Ollie Hogben here, bringing you this game in Group I, which is seeing Kawasaki Frontale impose themselves at the top of the table. That's a penalty kick, no doubt about it. It's not a tricky decision for Masoud Toufalier. Tachibanada brought down. Little shove from Xu Dongdong. One might say he was rather inexperienced there, Xu. From the penalty spot, it is another goal for Kawasaki Frontale. They lead by 4 goals to nil. The substitute CHN calmly stroking the ball beyond Guo Chanbo. Came on in the first half for the injured Yu Kobayashi. Goalkeeper anticipated it well. It was just a little too low for Guo. And it's a 4th goal in the AFC Champions League for CHN. And the first in this 2021 campaign. Potentially somewhat demoralising start to the second half for Beijing Goan. They've been outplayed, they've been outperformed, as you'd expect. They haven't made many egregious errors. That might be one of them. But again, and I'm sorry to sound like a broken record, one has to temper this with the extraordinary circumstances that have faced the team. Only 4 first-team players, and those are all marginal first-team players. To call them fringe would be probably elevating the status of the word fringe. Nabi, not a bad cross, no real options. Yang Xiaowen hasn't had the opportunity to display his fine free kick taking prowess. Wakizaka, a lot of space getting away from Hu, and it's just taken a touch to go behind from Ruan. Maybe an important touch to prevent Isakka from doing more with that, doing anything with that. Well, really, Toru Oniki can use this, can't he, as a chance to get people out there running around and getting used to the unique AFC Champions League 2021 experience. And the fixtures do come so rapidly, one after t'other, that there's a lot to be said for rotating when you can. Headed home, well finished. And they've been working towards that delivery for Kazuya Yamamura for the entirety of the game, and they've found it shortly after the start of the second half. So it is now Beijing Goan 0, Kawasaki Frontale 5. Just too physically strong for Nabi. Took it well, actually. Not at the easiest of angles. First time that Kazuya Yamamura has ever scored in the AFC Champions League. Just his 4th goal ever for Kawasaki Frontale. Well, how many more? How many more? Now wearing the armband, Yasuto Wakizaka. What an excellent ball. They might well finish this. Oh, blasted by Reo Hatate. Well, you can have a chuckle about that kind of thing, can't you, when you're 5-0 up? At the other end, flicked out by the aforementioned Reo Hatate. And just gets the feeling, though, that he might have one or two more chances in this match. Wouldn't be too surprising if he does find the target at some point. There is the presence of Ma Yu-jun wearing 71 for Beijing Goan. This for him must feel like something of a luxury to get so long out on the pitch. He's used to really coming on as a substitute with barely a ball left to kick. Like quite a few of the Beijing Goan players, he's played in a couple of Chinese FA Cup games. Quite a few of these players did that in 2 games last season. Easy header away by Yamamura. But in the case of Ma Yu-jun, he literally played about 7 minutes, I think it was, across those 2 games. So here come more changes. Zain Isakka and Kaito Kamiya coming on. Miki Yamane, one of the players, departing. And Reo Hatate, well, he won't get a goal because he's heading off now. And on comes Kaito Kamiya. Meanwhile, changes for Beijing Goan as well. We'll update you on those in just a moment. Ling Zhongyan coming on. So as expected, Tono using this opportunity to give players a chance to run. Daya Tono stopped well. Back to Tachibanada, shades of the opening, or the second goal I should say. Plenty of space though, Tono. Here is Zain Isakka, the 24-year-old from Machida in Tokyo. Oh, it's a beautiful strike from Yasuto Wakizawa. What a lovely way to make it 6-0. Oh, that was elegant football. He didn't thump that, he placed it so sweetly in the top corner. Just his 3rd goal in the AFC Champions League. Let's enjoy this from a superb angle. It's exquisite, despite the efforts of Guo Qianbo. A moment of delightful quality from the captain. Well, as I mentioned earlier, he doesn't complete many games, Wakizawa. But he may well complete this one with the armband, having taken it from Shogo Taniguchi at half-time. Easy for Chung Sung-ryong. Now they just seem to have got something of a taste for more and more. Kawasaki Frontale, they calmed down a little bit, slowed the pace of the game towards the conclusion of the first half. They picked it up again. Tono offside though. As mentioned earlier, it was an imposing 7-goal victory for Daegu FC over United City, who drew 1-1 with Beijing Goan in the first game. So as things stand, it will be Kawasaki Frontale staying at the top of the group, already there, and looking fairly insurmountable. They would be heavily favoured to win their match with United City, having already beaten Daegu. And Daegu, one would expect to beat Beijing Goan. Here is Isakka. And there is yet another, and now the legs perhaps are becoming somewhat tired. The minds are becoming somewhat jaded. Beijing Goan have conceded 7, and CHN has got his second. It's a very high quality ball from Isakka, and it's athleticism in abundance from CHN. Neither the substitute Ling nor Ran able to impose themselves upon him, and he's certainly taken his opportunity to add to his tally of AFC Champions League goals. He's just one away from doubling his all-time total in a single game. So much space, too much space. CHN, at least they have dealt with it just about, but looking very ragged now. Xu Dongdong putting it behind for the corner kick. One has to feel for Ran Qilong, who's really starting to look a touch on the exhausted side. Oh, poor Guo Qianbo. Very, very difficult to be a goalkeeper in this sort of environment, when it is just utterly relentless. It's relentless and thankless. More danger in the air, but that time enough pressure defensively. Jumping was Kaito Kamiya, just recently turned 24. Tono. Isakka has already shown he's useful in this kind of position, can deliver a quality ball. It's a very good link up with Tono. Captain Liang managing to get a touch. Here's Tachibanada lining up to fire and going over the top. Shintaro Kurumaya. As I said at the start of the game, when he did something similar, but it took a deflection. He's never scored in the Champions League. He's only scored 3 goals for the club that he's been with his entire career since graduating from Tsukuba University in 2014. 12 shots on target, 7 of them have gone in. One wonders how many of these young Beijing Goan players are aware, as we have a look back at this effort from Shintaro Kurumaya, how aware they are of the history of the team they play for. Club that was one of the first professional outfits in the People's Republic of China back in December of 1992, but founded as a semi-professional team in 1955. They first won the old Chinese top flight in 1957 as Ran Qilong picks himself back up, dusts himself off. Good interplay between Tono and Isakka. That's looking like a good combination to really trouble Beijing down the right. Sakagawa with a nice ball. Isakka. Sakagawa again. Gets it back with lots of space. Tachibanada resists the temptation to shoot. Sakagawa does not resist the temptation to shoot. It's his debut in the AFC Champions League. Chun Yampu, just saw there, wearing 99. He's one of those players that did play in the 2 cup games I was mentioning earlier against Chengdu, which they won 1-0, and then a 3-0 defeat to Wuhan. And that really, for most of these players, the only first team senior experience that they had, apart from the goalkeeper, Guo Qianbo, who has had a fair amount of first team football. Isakka moves it to Tono. He's looked really impressive, hasn't he, Isakka, since coming on? Tono, now it is Wakizawa. A little flick back, it's clever football, and it's not quite put in. Gathered by Guo. Kept in play well. That's the most, really, that Beijing Goan have imposed themselves in the Frontale half for some time. It's played really nicely to CHN, who, well, was he brought down? No. He certainly seemed to think he was. Interesting to monitor that one again. Wakizawa. Tono. He's everywhere. Nestor Wakizawa really controlling everything. What a super pass. Isakka just over the top of Chinen, and indeed of Hasegawa too. Sakagawa to Kurumaya. Now it's Wakizawa. Tono, well controlled. Maybe he should have just played that away. Tachibanada shoots, it just goes wide, and it will be a relieved Ma Yu-jun. Another change, and it's a departure of Li Bo-shi, and coming on is Lung Zishun. Just a look back at the opportunity for Kento Tachibanada to get his second goal of the game. 88 is Shu Yu-chung. Should be comfortable, and is comfortable for Kazuya Yamamura. CHN to Daya Tono. Here comes the overlap as expected from Zain Isakka, who puts it in beautifully for Chinen. What a nice ball from the number 15. Straight at Guo Chambo from Chinen, but good vision. Toru Oniki must be reasonably pleased with some of the work of his substitutes. Okay, Chinen, though, it was a wonderful chance to get his hat-trick. Ball won back fairly. Wakizawa. Isakka. Hasegawa. Runs eventually to Koki Tsukagawa. Well, one wonders if it's time to start throwing around irritating football cliches like learning experience and great opportunity and all of those irritating expressions that will feel utterly trite when players are on the end of a good old-fashioned thumping, and that's what this has been. But maybe there's some truth in it. Maybe there is something to be said for this kind of experience, though it is far from ideal. If nothing else, these players are accumulating minutes. They are learning about very fine players. And they are learning, as if they didn't know already, that it isn't fun to play Kawasaki Frontale. But fear not, one might say to some of these Beijing Goan youngsters, there are a lot of people that feel exactly the same way as you do. There are huge numbers of footballers who've experienced this exact feeling when facing Kawasaki Frontale. This is a team, after all, that has not lost a game in J1 this season. Kaito Kamiya, twin brother Ryota, also a professional. Kaito a defender and Ryota an attacker who plays at the moment for FC Kadia. He's on loan from Kamamatare Sanuki. Zain Isakka, Wakizawa, Tachibanada. The luxury of options, the pullback must be surely Wakizawa. Good foot out from the captain Liang Shaowen to deflect it over the top. It looked as though Wakizawa had his second goal coming. It will be Yasuto Wakizawa again to take this set piece. 26-year-old from port city of Yokohama, headed over the top by the substitute Koki Tsukagawa's good run. Yet to score for the club that he joined this season after a couple of years at Matsumoto Yamaga. And those two shots that Beijing Goan enjoyed, they seem a lifetime ago, and they were great chances too. It's awful to harp on about it, but they really were. Would they have altered the outcome of the game? Well, probably not. There would have been a couple of well-hit counter-punches, but... And there... Oh, my word, how did that not go in? Well, Tono has done a lot more with a lot less in this game. One might say there were a fair few bodies in the way, but I might be saying that slightly kindly. Can Kawasaki Frontale make it to double figures in the last 15 minutes? Yang Xiaowen goes on the diagonal. But it's got to that stage where everything really is quite hopeful. Wakizawa. Isakka, graduate of Toin University. He was very impressive for them in the Emperor's Cup. A lot of the Japanese university teams try to make their mark in that historic competition. Some of the high school teams as well. There was that memorable moment some years ago, getting on for 20 years now, I think, where a high school team almost knocked out the league champions, the Yokohama F. Marinos. Tono. Wakizawa curls it and nearly beats Guo. Chance for the number 10, Ryota Oshima, to get onto the pitch, and as is customary, Yasuto Wakizawa gives way. The impressive Wakizawa, he's played 19 games in the league this season, but has departed early in 13 of them, so certainly something that one saw coming. And on is the number 10, Ryota Oshima, who came on for the last 27 minutes of the victory over Daegu. '28 is Yamamura. Space for Tono, wants to play it back to Isakka. Really was not used wisely by Oshima. Possession-wise, it's still been about 2/3 Kawasaki Frontale. In a game where they have just been able to pick up the pace when they've needed to, otherwise to trot around. And when maybe for just one brief, fleeting moment after That first goal, when Doan Durja found himself one-on-one with Chung Sung Ryong, you just wondered, is there going to be a game here? The answer was most certainly not. And it would be cruel and rather ridiculous to blame it on those two young players, Doan and Li Bo-shi. Even if they had put those chances away, Kawasaki Frontale would likely have responded purposefully. Now there's trouble here. Ujachi, player in pain. Oh, that's why he really does get his ankle trodden on by CHN. It did look a rather painful one. So the last 10 minutes of the contest. And the contest might be a hyperbolic way to frame this game. It has been something of a training run out for Kawasaki Frontale, but they've done their job well, professionally. And they will soon start to think about the latter stages. It's hard, surely, to spend so much time chasing. Tachi Banada, another of the Tono University graduates in the team, alongside Zain Isakka and Miki Yamane. Hasn't been the most complex of games for Massoud Tourfalier to officiate. Well, how Beijing Goan could have done with the expertise of a player like Xu Yunlong in a game like this. Their club legend, the reason why there is no number 13 shirt, has been retired because of him. And since he retired, he's been working as the chief commercial officer for the club. Tono's cross should be dealt with, is dealt with. He is a history maker though, whatever happens. Ma Yujun, youngest ever player to feature in a Champions League game for this club. Now free kick right on the edge of the area. Alon Tono by Nabi. Nabi Jiang Muhammad, to use his full name, but he tends to go as Nabi. Coming on is He Xiao Chang. Another of the players who played in both of the cup games last year, yet to play in the Super League. And it's an AFC Champions League debut for him. He does replace the player who committed the foul. Tono floats it towards the back post. Looked as though there was an arm used there, and there was. Is he going to get the hat-trick? Not if he does that. Well, the passing accuracy of Kawasaki Frontale really evidence of how, as the game has gone on, they've not really been under a great deal of pressure when they've had the ball. They've had time. They have the luxury of looking around and exploring the options. It was a needless foul from Isakka. Advantage played. Just a little too much on that. What a shame. Rather dejected but appreciative Xu Dongdong. But most high impact in terms of the substitutions, Zain Isakka, but a little too high impact in that challenge. Referee going back and retrospectively booking him for this. Foul on CHN, the substitute. Oh, there must be some Frontale players sitting on the bench who've spent much of the game thinking, come on, please let me get on there and have a chance to go up against this defence. Leandro Damião not used. No. Akihiro Yanaga. Kudamaya. Chinen arriving on the edge of the box. He's not going to get anything from it. Instead, the shot is comfortably deflected behind. Substitute Kaito Kamiya maybe had a chance to play in CHN. All ended up being a little bit last gasp. Header from Liang, who has played a key part in keeping the score as low as possible at the back. Made a few good interceptions with his head. Zain Isakka. Tono. Tachibanada. He's had a good game. As has Tono. What an impressive AFC Champions League debut for the number 19. Should be the goalkeepers with ease. Guo Qianbo. Goalkeeper from Xianmen, Hubei province. Kazuya Yamamura, who scored with his head in the early stages of the second half, the 51st minute. Chinen will cross early and cross well, and it just didn't sit up particularly pleasantly for Tatsuya Hasegawa, who took the delivery from Tono so well in the 7th minute to make it 1-0 to Kawasaki Frontale. It's been a very calm day at the office, one suspects, for Toru Oniki. But then this is a gentleman who's used to seeing his team win. It's his 215th game in charge. This will be win number 132. Well over 60% of games won. Just 34 losses during his mighty tenure in charge of the finest team in Japan. And that maybe is something that the Beijing Goan youth team players will have to keep reminding themselves of. This is not just a tough game against a very good side from Japan. This is the team that leads J1, the team that won it last year. This would have been a very tough game even for the full strength Beijing Goan. A game that Kawasaki Frontale would have quite possibly been favoured to win. Quite probably been favoured to win. And one of Kawasaki Frontale, is this going to be the year where they really manage to impose themselves upon a competition, having won everything domestically? Can they make that success now fill up the continent of Asia? Chinen will surely want to shoot. Instead he opts for the pullback, the cross even. And it's Tono, and nobody can quite put it in, and then it's a somewhat wayward volley. A messy attack from Kawasaki Frontale. And a good save from Guo. So we are well into the 3 additional minutes here at the Locomotive Stadium in Tashkent. Yang Xiaowen plays it to the substitute, He Xiaochang. Just goes beyond him. It's not been pleasant for Beijing Goan, but it also hasn't been nightmarish. And after the first 8 minutes, it looked as though it was going to be nightmarish. The goals have come in flurries. Right at the start of the match, right at the end of the first half, right at the start of the second. And then after the 59th minute goal from CHN, Zoran Jankovic's team have at least been able to be less pressurised by a Frontale team who are somewhat in first or second gear. Chinen doesn't receive it back from Oshima. Kamiya. Oshima again. Tachibanada. Last attack, one suspects, and gathered by Guo Qianbo. Just about managing to stop Tsukagawa from stealing possession. And it might well be that there are no further chances for Kawasaki Frontale in this one, as Beijing Goan seem happy enough to let the last few seconds elapse, and the Kawasaki Frontale players not exactly desperate to chase the ball down. It was always very unlikely that Beijing Goan were going to get anything from this game. There was always a chance that Kawasaki Frontale would score freely. And they did. There were moments, fleeting moments, nearly moments, promising moments from Beijing Goan, but they were few and far between. This was Kawasaki Frontale in exhibition mode. They scored early on, they scored at the conclusion of the first and at the start of the second, and then sat back knowing that they were easily remaining at the top of Group I. Jung Sung-ryong, one of the easier games of his career, because it finishes Beijing Goan 0, Kawasaki Frontale 7. It's been a great pleasure having your company for this meeting between Beijing Goan and Kawasaki Frontale. That's all from the Locomotive Stadium in Tashkent, as Kawasaki Frontale have the maximum 6 points and turn their attention to their match with United City to close out the group stage for them. For Beijing Goan, they have to dust themselves down and face Daegu. Until next time, goodbye.